Yo ho ho! Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Carl Bryan here, coming at you with my boy Kenya Pat. What's happening? I almost went normal Pat Bell, but you know what? He's Kenya
Normal
Pat
Pat.
right here, folks. What's going on, bud? What's happening,
When
Kenya?
when I die, I'll be an expat. That's what we call it.
That's it, man. The
Oh, I'll
expat.
tell you,
Pat,
I went out
the expat.
looking for apartments now. We're bit down from houses to apartments. Went out looking for apartments on the weekend, and we found a nice one. So,
Oh, cool.
dang, they're
You did?
expensive. Yeah.
I know most people think of Kenya. They don't think of the word expensive and Kenya in the same sentence, but you'd be surprised, folks. You'd be surprised.
It's hard to find
Anyway,
a apartment with a grass roof, anyway. So,
with a what? Grass roof?
the fourth floor, they get a little soggy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
just
man. There you go. Yeah.
no.
All right, folks. Don't worry. Pat's not living in a grass hut. He's joking around with us.
Yeah.
So what's happening here, buddy? We're going to let's open up a couple lines. Everybody listening, guys, very important. This is a Q&A call. You guys provide the Q. Pat and I provide the A. So we need you guys to get active. And on these calls, you have been on them. What happens is they tend to start slow and then finish fast a lot of the time. Sometimes they start slow and finish slow, by the way. But if you guys have any questions, put your hand up and we will get your questions answered.
Yeah,
Speaking
we
of
also
questions,
will
look at this.
have to finish a little early tonight, right? Because of the
Yep,
certified mastermind call. So
that is it. Yes, we have to be off at 20. What time? Anyway, yeah, we got to be off nice and early. But anyway, so look, let's go. Linda Lewis has got her hand up. Let's go to Linda Lewis. Linda. You're self-muted. You got to unmute yourself, Linda.
Oh, there.
There
I
she
think I
is.
did it.
yeah,
Okay.
Hey, how's it going, Linda? What's happening?
Okay. So I am running into a situation with some networking groups that's so it presents itself in two different ways.
Yep.
And I want to, do the networking to meet people to do a PAS. So the networking group leader is doing trainings to train people to build relationships, and putting a lot of emphasis on that, which granted that's important, but there's a lot of time spent building relationships. And so it shows up both on the call with everybody, and then when you do the one-to-one session with people, I get there and people want to build a relationship. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about how to handle that so that we actually get to the point of doing the PAS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look, that's, you know what? Damn good question, quite frankly. I'd like to tell you I've got a black and white answer. It does take it. It's a little bit of moxie. And Linda, you've obviously got a confident personality. So in some cases, the person that kind of grabs a hold of the steering wheel and kind of drives the conversation is the one that ends up driving the conversation with hesitation to, metaphorically ramming something down somebody's throat. But if I'm going to a networking function, again, understand that they're there for their businesses. So if you could come from a place of service first, where you can, hey, what kind of business do you have? Oh, wow, you're a realtor. I know a really good mortgage broker. I should introduce you guys. Well, no doubt you can see how that's a good way to start the relationship and, of course, introduce them. But that being said, and I think you know all of that, you're just speaking to somebody, and it's, as an example, I've got some software. What we can do is we can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. And then I just zip it and just see what they say. And your ideal prospect is going to hear that, and they're going to be, pretty interested. For the right business owner, and they hear that, and they feel like you got some moxie, they're going to say, tell me more. And this is when you start telling them more. So So that would be an example of how I'd, but you got to use your spidey senses and you got to read the room. And if you don't, I'll tell you this, Linda, for everybody listening, of course, what you don't want to be is you don't want to be the bull in the china shop and to show up to because a lot of these networking groups, they've been around forever and a day, right? So the people that are there, they all know each other really well, and then you're new. So when you come in a little bit, you come in a little too hot, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
That can also, you got to play the game a little bit. And what does play the game mean? In every room dynamic, it can be a little bit different. In fact, every relationship and every conversation, it can be a little bit different. So you got to use your spidey senses a bit. But if you wanted a black and white answer, I would try to come from a place of service initially, like, oh, wow, you're a realtor. I know a mortgage broker. I'll have to introduce you guys. And then conveniently in the conversation, I drop, and not in a pushy way, but in an organic way, in a perfect world, 100K, 45 minutes without you spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. And then I shut up. And then I just wait for their response. And I'm not glaring into their eyes. I don't whip out my pen and pull out my notebook like, wow, let's go book the appointment. Do you know what I mean? I just it's an afterthought. Oh, yeah. So that's what I would say. What do you think?
Yeah. That's good. That's a good way to frame it, I think. I'm trying not to be too pushy about it. And there are days when I feel much more patient about it and I'm into the relationship building. And then there are some days I'm just like, I can't stand this.
And so say that. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was in one of those moods, I'd be like, you know what? I've been to like 50 of these things, and sometimes I just get sick of the small talk. Lucy, what I got this software. It's freaking mind blowing. 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences that that populates a roadmap that you can then follow for the next 12 months. It's a game changer. It's like everybody in this room should be kissing me on the lips for just offering it to them, let alone facilitating it. But, sometimes, I need another coffee, Lucy. Oh my God. You see what she says? You know what I mean? Like you just tell them, you know what I mean? Be straight up. I'm sick of the schmoozing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There are days when I'm just breaking every rule that they have in this networking group. I would be very, but the one thing that I wouldn't do, and you don't want to be the bull in the china shop, because that's not who you want to get. I mean, you just don't want to be that gal or guy. Yeah. So, Pat, can I throw it to you? And what would you say if you're at a networking function, and what would your approach and whatnot be?
Well, I'm more like the bull in the china shop, but because my wife's a high I, and I'm a high D. And it sounds like this networking group was started by someone who's a high I, they love to talk, but a very low D. They don't want to get stuff done. And, the whole marketing thing that's like, hey, you never ask someone to marry you on the first date. And it's like, you know what? Actually, I did.
You did. He did, by the way.
And we've been married 30 years. So anyway, she said no the first time, but it took about 9 months to get her to say yes. But it's like sometimes you see something good, you just got to go for it, right? And if you're in I would say exactly what Carl was saying. It's like, you know what? Sometimes it's like, man, I get a little frustrated because I feel like we're building relationships, and I feel like I've got something so powerful to offer people. I just want to let you guys know about it. Like, it's such good news. Can I share my good news with you? People would go, oh yeah, okay. Like, what you don't want to do is be like every other business coach who goes, I'm a business coach. I help people grow businesses. It's so boring. But you come in with a great script. Talk about the software, the 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences, and how you can find someone, $100,000 or more in less than 45 minutes without them spending an additional dollar on marketing or advertising. And like Carl said, that's what I do. And if you guys want to talk about it, if there's any high D people in the room, like want to get going, want to take action, I'm the person to talk to. And you shut up.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. I love it. So there you go, Linda. But you see, it's two different approaches, but ridiculous parallels throughout. But Pat's, he's like you, he rolled up. He doesn't want to toot around. He just wants to tell him he's got something amazing. Who wants to take me up on it? And let's cut the small talk. So there you go.
And you can say anything with a smile on your face and get away with it. So as long as you're outgoing and personable and like a little bit winsome in that, just with a big smile on your face, and like you watch some people and they're just laughing all the time and they're so winsome and you want to get to know them. Like if you're just real stodgy and all that, it's like no one wants to talk to you. But if you're fun to talk to and you look like you're fun, you're having a great time. I mean, there's going to be people that are just drawn to you, and those are the people you're going to get. But then stick around, and maybe the second time you go, the next time you go, you don't bring it up, and you dive into the relationships, and maybe the fourth time you bring it up again. It's like, hey man, we've been building relationships for 3 weeks now. If there's anyone in the room like me, I want to get business done. It's like, is there anyone like me? Now let's talk about how to grow businesses. So
that's good.
There you go.
I think,
Linda, does that help?
That does help. I think I'll throw out into the conversation a little more often, maybe what I do. Yeah.
But remember, Linda, but remember what Pat said a minute ago. What you do is not that you're a business coach. They'll go immediately, they'll fall into beta mode. It's like saying you're a realtor. It's the stupidest thing you could possibly do, right? So like an example, if I was a realtor, what would I do? If I went to the networking function, the word that would never come out of my mouth, it would be that, Carl, what do you do? And again, I'm pretending I'm a realtor, right? So I don't say that word. I say, well, what I do is I analyze the local real estate market because I'm ridiculously passionate about real estate. I'm ridiculously passionate about, now I'm kind of spitballing here. Let me just think this. Like, basically, look, Carl, what do you do? I research the local real estate market. And what I do is I put together a newsletter that I send out on the first of every month with all the best deals in any houses locally that are up for foreclosure that, people wanting to make money in real estate could literally steal. Like, what? You send out a what? On when? Like, how do I get on that list? Because are you interested in foreclosed properties locally? And that's going to be pretty much anybody interested in real estate. But it's not just foreclosed property. Now you got their email address. Now you follow up, and I want to become their realtor. You get the idea? If I say I'm a realtor, they go into beta mode, and they don't hear anything I say after that because they've met 1,700 realtors, and they don't need me to explain what I do. You know what I mean? So right. With that being said, so the equivalent for you is don't say the words business coach the way Pat said. What you want to do is you want to say, oh, so, Linda, what do you do? No, I do a number of things to help businesses grow, but basically I've got some software that I rip businesses through, and it can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. And then they're going to be like, oh, wow, like no one else is saying that. So not business coach, you use your elevator pitch in an organic way. That's what I was trying to do there. Make sense?
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Cool. Awesome, Linda. Good job. Great question. There we go. Straight out of the gates. And I think Lois has her hand up. She might have put it down. Hang on. Lois Lane, we're coming for you. There she is. Lois Lane, what's happening?
I had my hand up because I wanted to add to what you're talking about with networking, because I've gone to oodles of networking things now. And I think that Linda's concern is really justified because they all have rules. And if you don't follow the rules, you get politely asked to leave, or you. It is quite true. And so there's rules about how they want to operate, and there's rules about what they don't want disrupted. There are people who they give business to each other, they feed business to each other, and that's what they're really worried about. And so what I've had to learn is who the in-group is and what their businesses are, and I sell around it. Because if I take them on head on, I become an immediate threat and they're not interested. I get shut down. So VC, for example, is one of the things none of them do. So it is much easier to enter through the VC channel. There are a lot of people who think they're digital marketers and lead gen people, and those are a dime a dozen in networking groups. And so it's hard to get past the in-group of those people. So I just said, why bother? I've got more tools than they do, just move past them.
Yep. So, sorry, solution
They
is what? So
also-
how do you go in and
They
present yourself? What's the category that you fall under?
So, okay, so they also have, I'm having to rewrite my elevator speech all the time because they have very definite rules. And this last week, I was given a new set of rules for how the elevator speech has to be given. And so you never start with I, you never start with anything that you do or what you're offering. So it's business owners who want to exponentially grow their business. I have a program that allows you to joint venture and grow your business in less than 6 weeks. If you're interested, come talk to me. Something like that. Man, I'm still working on the verbiage, but I'm trying to follow.
So you're presenting, Lois, so you're presenting yourself as a JV broker as opposed to a business coach in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And you have found that as a JV broker, if you come in as a business coach, you feel like you're bunking heads with the big dogs in the group generally. So you go in as a JV broker so that you're going around them, in your words, versus head to head with them. Am I correct?
Right. And, and then the other thing is they all have courses. So this week I woke up and I said, my goodness, they're all selling courses to each other. I've got courses. I'll sell them a course. So Thursday I'll be somebody else and I'll sell a course, which will be, one of our e-learning things.
So, okay, I'm going to understand what you said at the end there. So you are going to present, they have courses. So you're saying you're going to also go in and sell a course. So you're.
So they're more in tune to buying from each other. They're first a course.
I got it. Okay. Oh, hey, that's good. That's good. I like that.
That's how they get to know and like each other. And they're all free by and large. So I said, that's no problem. I can compete on that level. I got courses, oodles of courses. So they're going to start hearing about all my courses. But you have to really play the game the way they play it. Otherwise, you become a problem for the group.
Yeah. That's really, Lois, I got to tell you, I like the way, I totally agree. And just so I'm guessing everybody's understanding it, but what Lois is saying is that no matter what networking group you go into, you are going to be competition because there's already a business coach in the room or something very close to, and she's throwing digital marketers in the same vein. So by going in with a slightly different approach, and the approach that she's taking is JV broker, is a way to do it. And then she's selling, and they're so used to buying courses from one another or being given courses, giving courses to one another. She's using our course. Is it the 52-week curriculum? Is that what you're giving away? Is that the course you're using?
I won't give away 52 weeks. I'll give away a month and put together 4 courses for them or that are free. And then from there, after 4 weeks, most of their courses are 4 to 6 weeks, I've learned. So I just am following their formula. That's all.
Well, there you go. That, Lois, is excellent. Pat, anything you'd ask or add?
Well, my whole thing, like, again, I'm a high D. So when I get a little frustrated, and I'm also a rule breaker. I'm a very low C. I'm a rule breaker, like, what speed limit kind of thing, right? So, so I get frustrated in groups where there's all these rules that I want to see. I'm looking at my ROI, and I can commit to a group for a certain time, but if I'm not seeing an ROI from the group, I know it's costing me not just the money to be in the group every week or whenever it is, but it's also costing me a time, and there's an opportunity cost to that. So I have to think, okay, is this the best way for me to get clients? And maybe it's, I'm just thinking if for the other high D people in the group, if I'm in there and I'm maybe finding it's just too slow for me, what I might do if I was allowed to is just announce a focus group that I'm running or something, that we offer maybe through LPW, one of those like the focus group or a 3-hour workshop on something. And you get people into your own room, and then you have a chance to you create the rules in your own room. You're teaching them, and now you're the expert. So I would try and invite them into something that, like a 3-hour workshop. It's going to be $29, and you're going to teach them something amazing. Maybe you're going to go through the pie chart of business growth possibilities and the power of compounding impacts and the market dominating position, or 10K training or whatever, 10K presentation. And you're going to show them the software, and you maybe do a hot seat or something. But at the end of that, what you're doing in 3 hours is it's just a 3-hour sales pitch, because people buy from experts, and you have to prove that you're the expert. And when you're up on a stage for 3 hours or in front of a room for 3 hours teaching and showing people wow information, they go, Lois is the expert, hands down, and we can't wait to do business with her, and we can't wait to tell all our friends about her. So I would try and move that meeting out of their room into my room, and give people scholarships to come, or make it usually whatever, make it $29 or something that they're going to show up, and I would start educating them that way. But anyway, I'm a high D. Like I want to see results quick, and I want to get things going. And man, for me, if I went to a networking group and if I didn't have something in 8 weeks, I'd be like, okay, I got something better to do. But that's me. It might not be you. And there's friendships. Maybe you want to build friendships and community and all that too, and that's totally fine if that's what you want. But if you want to get clients, you've got to get clients. So I think that's what everyone else in the room is trying to get to. They want to grow their business. They want to make deals. So help them grow their business.
And somebody who comes in with an alpha personality, the way that I feel like Pat just described himself, right? Like he's coming in, he's not there he doesn't want to be your best bud necessarily. Maybe he does, but that's probably not the case. He's there to rock and roll. This is what I do. And I think there's an element of that because everybody's there trying to, stay in between the lines sometimes in those groups that are established. So I think there's a room, but you have to have the right personality, right? And Lois might not, and Linda might not, and I might not, but Pat does. And then, so you gotta use your own style, which is what Pat was also explaining there. So I don't know, Lois, what do you think? That help?
Yeah, it helps. I'm a high D too, but I have a lot of Japanese blood in me, so I know how to balance the two.
Oh, good.
I love it. All right, cool. All right, Lois, well, we appreciate your magic. We're going to put Lois Lane back on mute.
I got in so much trouble in Japan. Lois, I was there 12 years as well, and I'm not sure I'm a Japanese blood, but I certainly had to deal with business in Japanese. We're the only foreigners in our city, and we had to make it work. And we had a stellar reputation, but it's certainly a different culture because you've got to go at their pace. And anyway, but we also put all our competitors out of business because I wasn't about to do things the way everyone else was doing them.
So what was the upshot? So you were a bit of a bull in the China shop, but the results were there. Like they were like, wow, who's this guy kind of thing, or what? How did it play out?
Exactly. Like, we were running a chain of English schools, and I think I probably told this story before on this here, but every English school in the country, including the 2 national chains that were in our city, asked for an entrance fee. And so I went to our secretary and I said, so why are we offering an entrance fee? And she's like, it's a chance to get some more money out of people. I'm like, okay. And then I had my own daughter who wanted to take ballet lessons. And I'm like, okay, man, it's expensive. You got to buy tights. You got to sign up. You got to do all this entrance fee. You got to do monthly fees. You got to pay for a recital. And after 6 months, she quit and I'm out hundreds of dollars. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I just totally changed the marketing. I learned this at the time from Jay Abraham about risk reversal and lifetime value. So I went to our secretary and said, how long does a student stay with us? And it was on average 3 years. It was $2,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I can just get someone in the door, I can make $2,000. So I put this ad in the paper and it said at the Bell, this in Japanese, of course, but it said at the Bell School, or attention mothers, at the Bell School, there will no longer be an entrance fee. We realize that your little son or daughter doesn't know if they want to study English conversation or not. So there's no more entrance fee. So when you come, just pay for your textbooks, pay for your first month. And at the end of 1 month, if your child isn't outrageously happy, we'll return all your money, including the money for the textbooks, and you get to keep the textbooks. So you have no risk. And we literally put everyone out of business, every competitor, including national chains with their marketing budgets. They all closed their doors because we had all the students. Like I was walking by the national chain and I heard this other person on the street saying, where's the Nova chain? And I think it was Nova or Geos, one of those chains. And they were asking the shopkeeper, where's the Nova chain? And the shopkeeper said, oh, you should go to Bell School. So I'm like, oh, yes. So we literally created a monopoly because we just did something different. We got on TV all the time. My wife had her own TV show for 2 years. Like we were interviewed in every media. I did an interview on Japanese radio. I did the whole thing in Japanese for half an hour. And I scripted the whole thing and memorized it. And they played it every day for a week. Like we did promotions with all the students in all the schools. I wrote a book. I mean, we did everything we were supposed to do. And we just went for it. And, but people loved us in the city. They just loved us. So after 12 years, and we sold off and we moved to Kenya and lost everything. So here we are again.
No. And the interview, was that in Japanese?
It was in Japanese, yeah.
You spoke Japanese on TV?
I was on the radio.
Radio?
Well, I told the interviewer, I said, look, I'll do the interview, but you've got to ask the questions I give you.
Yeah.
And because I'll prepare the answers, because I said my Japanese isn't that good. You have to be humble, right? And they said, okay, we'll do that. So I gave her the list of questions, and then I just basically answered them, and I'd memorized the answers, and my pronunciation was really good. And they were just in awe, but I'd scripted strategically the whole thing because I'm just educating, I'm talking philosophy and all that. They thought I was brilliant. So anyway, it's a lot of work to memorize 30 minutes of a conversation in a different language, let me tell you, and to get it all pronouncing right. But it's just hard work. You got to put in the work to get the results, and that's what I wanted. So it was a lot of fun. I don't think I could do it again, but it was a lot of fun at the time.
Classic.
Anyway.
That's a good. I'm trying to think of that song. I think I'm speaking Japanese. I really think so.
Yeah.
That's about as close as I'm going to get to Japanese. So that was me singing. In case anybody's wondering, that's what just happened. Okay, that's the way I sing. So, sorry for my 7-year-old daughter who has to listen to me sing a very limited number of songs when I put her to bed at night because I don't know any songs. There you go. Anyways, there you go. Speaking Japanese, folks. All right. Okay, we need some cues. So Pat and I can give you the A's. And by the way, they gave you the wrong name, right? They said Bell. You got to go to Bell School. They didn't know that you were Kenya Pat back then.
No, I wasn't Kenya Pat. I was Japanese. Japan.
Yeah, Japanese Pat. There you go. Eh?
I was Pato
Shoot.
Beru. Pato Beru.
Oh my God, that's how you say it.
Pato. Yeah, they can't say Pat. Pato and Hori
I love it.
Beru.
There we go. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Let's open somebody up. We need a question here, folks. I'm gonna go to my buddy Juan. He's in the process of moving. This guy's got some serious balls in the air. Yo ho ho, Juan Valesco. How are you, my friend?
Dude, fantastic. How are you guys? That was a great story, Pat.
Yeah, no, that was killer, right? What about my singing, Juan?
Oh no, that was like the cherry on top of the sundae. That was
Yeah, yeah, right. The cherry on top, right? Like a big poop on top. So Juan, tell us, man, what do you got cooking? In fact, I'm going to tell. So Juan, guys, you want to know what Juan has been up to? He's living through a pandemic like the rest of us. He has sold his wife. Juan, you fill in any blanks here that I missed, but his wife and him have sold their hair salon. He had 8 events in reasonably short order, which I think was about over 60 days. He's packed up his family, sold his house, and he's moving to Texas, where he's going to build a new life. And I think there's something else in there. Juan, I took on a bunch of coaching clients and done everything. Is that pretty much what your last 60 days has looked like, bud? How am I doing?
yeah, that's it. I think I told my wife I think we'd like pain or something because it's definitely a drastic move, but
Yeah.
it's a needed change. I think there's a lot of opportunity everywhere, like we had talked, and um,
Yeah.
I
Where are you
grew.
now? Sacramento? Where are you? You're in Cali. Where?
Oh, San Diego area, San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so we're moving to Texas. I mean, obviously opportunities everywhere, but what I established here, like with the system here, I mean, I created a lot of need and a lot of want, and what you were saying earlier too, like a networking events. I mean, a lot of my clients came from um, chambers of commerce and networking events, and I kind of agree with Pat. You can kind of get stuck at a networking event and not seeing your return, but it is what you put into it, though. I mean, I just stepped up and did presentations left and right. I mean, I was doing like 2 or 3 live events, in like back to back sometimes. But the only thing I didn't do right is I didn't follow up with everybody. So I'm just catching up on following up because it was too much at the same time.
Too quick. Yeah, that happens, my friend. That happens, man. But that's good. So when are you going to be in Texas? When is that? We're in motion here. When do you end up there?
Yeah, correct. So we'll be there in May 1st. May 1st.
Oh, good. What part of Texas?
So we're looking at, we haven't bought a house yet. We're going next week to buy a house. So it's going to be like New Braunfels and then San Antonio area.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's growing like crazy out there. I mean, I'm just looking at the business use and Microsoft I mean, they're buying acres and acres of freaking land to build new infrastructure out there because the demand
Yeah.
of the population. So it's crazy.
Cool. Might want to think about renting before you buy. I don't know. You move into a new
Yeah, it's
something
true.
to think about. Rent and move around a little bit and get the right street and the right community and the right school and all that stuff. That's something to think about. Shoot, something to think about, bud.
Yeah, that's true. I do have a question about the software. So, I've only worked or used the software for, businesses mainly, but maybe 1.5 to 2 million and under in revenue. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of working into it more and kind of get your advice on, I'm talking to more businesses now. Like this morning, I talked to a business that's doing 3.5 manufacturing company, oil and gas. Um, is it the same strategy, or maybe I just, not comfortable with larger companies with the software, or any guidance or any tips that you would give me?
I think
No, it's
if they have,
the same. Actually, sorry. Go, Pat. Go, buddy.
I was going to say, if they have a sales and marketing process, then it's the same thing. Generally the same thing. You maybe have to do a little bit more due diligence and dive deeper, and maybe prove yourself a little more to them. They want to see numbers, but it might be something that you jump into the Jumpstart 40 to find ideas. Or if you're in the deep dive, if they've got a sales team, you definitely want to talk about you want to go, but ask great questions about their sales team as well. And you could get that you get that better in the deep dive. So anyway, Carl, that's just my brief answer on that one.
Yep. And I'd say though that you'll be able to get like the Jumpstart 12 would generally be more than enough. What you're going to want to do if they've got larger numbers, like if you've got a company that's got $300,000 of revenue, and then you have a company that has $3 million of revenue, the impacts, you're going to want to, again, make sure that you're staying more towards 3% than 10%. Otherwise, the numbers swell too much. And it just becomes a little bit unbelievable, right? So that's the if you do a SWOT analysis, that's always the threat of doing one of these. You don't want to make the numbers swell too much because they're sitting there going, I just don't think this is going to be possible. So keeping that in mind, but yeah, that's, what kind of company? What kind of company?
This one was they do manufacturing equipment specifically in the oil and gas arena.
Oh, wow. So they're in Texas, yeah, this company?
Actually, the strangest part, no, they're in California.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Down here. And so maybe get your feedback too. So my background is finance, right? Like, I mean, like CFO and all that. And then obviously, over the years, I got into marketing. So a lot of people know me as a finance guy. That's how I got introduced to this company. And he does have a sales and marketing. And the introduction was finance, cost cutting. Like, Juan can help you cost cut, figure out your gross margins and all that. What's another guidance? Obviously, because the software, because I haven't introduced the software to him yet, because it's, more intended for marketing growth. But what's like a transition I can do that, since I'm a numbers guy, and then I'm going to introduce the software.
Yeah. Okay. I want to hear what Pat has to say, but what I'd be saying is, the way that you separate yourself is that, like, do they want to get big or do they want to get rich? And again, more businesses fall over from growth than lack of growth, right? So then that's the problem. What's the solution to that? My background as a finance guy is that I'm going to be able to help you grow, and we're going to market, we're going to generate leads, we're going to build your sales team, we're going to triple the sales over a period of time here. But we're going to do it in such a way that you're going to maintain, the margin, the current margins that you have. We're going to maintain that. And, we're going to, in a perfect world, we're going to exceed that. So I don't know, that's the way you position it, as you're going to help them grow, but you're going to help them grow in a different way than the marketing guy, because he just wants to get big, making the mistake of helping them get big and not helping them get rich. And what they want to do is, you'd prefer to, get rich than get big. So that's how I'd separate myself right there. So you're going to grow, the other guy's going to help them grow, but you're going to do it in a very profitable way. Whereas the marketing guy isn't going to keep his eye on the expenses and the numbers on the way up on what I'd refer to as a scoreboard.
Got it. Okay. Yeah,
like
that's
that?
good. Yeah.
Pat,
So,
what would you expand or add anything there?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that they've got you pegged as a finance guy, cost cutting, and you're probably going in, they're thinking to themselves, that's your specialty. So I'd definitely work in your area of specialty to start, find them the impacts, and then you could segue really well into some other areas, at least open the door, and just come prepared with 5 or 6 or 10 questions that you could come through here, and you might pick them out in this area or in the digital assessment, digital acceleration software. Again, one of my favorite questions, are your marketing and sales processes documented so that sales are predictable? Just asking a question like that, and they go, that's a great question. If you hit them with 5 or 6 questions, you've now got their attention. And if they're stumbling a little bit, or you can sense that they don't have the right answers, it's like, look, I've got the software. Let me run you through my software, because I think we can find a lot of other impact for you. Would you like to do that? And you might have you might get yourself a client through that.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. But yeah, and I definitely have to remember that. I've heard you say that before, just going in and finding those questions and then ask them before you run the software.
And yes, one. And now also though, like what are your stories and what are your examples, right? Like again, everybody's listened to these calls have heard me use this example 100 times, but I'll continue to use it because it's mind boggling for the person listening to it. And that, like, it's called the guy Dave that you're going to be sitting with. Think of what I just said a minute ago. The difference between you and the other guys is that you're both going to help them grow, but you're going to help them grow in a very methodical, very profitable way versus, the Facebook ad guy is just going to hit the gas pedal and hope for the best, right? Not knowing what the hell's going on, not maintaining the scoreboard. Now, Dave, let me give you an example of that, right? So we got a client, let's just hypothetically say they did $1 million last year and they made $100,000 of profit. And if you feel like those guys have, if they made $1 million of profit last year, just do this exact same example with $1 million instead, right? But they did $1 million gross, $100,000 of profit. They had 20% margins. I sat with them. Again, the Facebook ad guy was there and he was talking about growth and Facebook ads and all these new sales teams. Well, what I did is we just went through their P&L and their credit card statements, looking at their expenses, okay, and then their credit card statement. And we increased our margins from 20 to 30%. On the surface, that's a 10% improvement, which would be $10,000 on $100,000 profit, right? The guy's going to agree with you 90% of the time. Well, that's not what happened. 20 to 30 is a 50% increase. And then you've now got to go 20 to 22 is 10, 20 to 24 is 20, 20 to 26 is 30, right? So again, 20 to 30 is a 50% increase, not 10. I didn't make them $10,000. I made them $50,000. And we did it a couple of hours without hiring anybody, without buying a Facebook ad, without doing anything sexy and delusional. We didn't try to create a 4-hour work week. We went to work. This is what we did. I paid for my 12-month fees within hours of starting a relationship and went from there. So you get it, Juan? Like that's an example. And then you fill in a couple other stories that you've got and examples of taking finance and connecting it to growth. And now you're not just saying it in a factual way, you're saying it with a story and an example, which will have significantly more impact. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah,
So
and that's
yeah, go.
well, no, I was saying, and that's a great transition. But how, if I'm doing cost cutting, that's a great segue into the growth with an example, because then they can see that.
Yeah, exactly. So now the homework for you is what are the 3 stories, no matter how the meeting goes and no matter what is said, remember you're a politician and you're always going to throw out your 3 examples, your stories that have unbelievable impact. Right? Make sense? Like if I'm doing, and then compelling offer, and I say, well, you know how I got here is I can find you $100,000 in 45 minutes without you spending an extra $1 on marketing or advertising. That's an example of my compelling offer. What do you guys have? They're like, right, you get nothing. And you're like, don't create one. Say, don't worry, within 30 days of us working together, and I got a pretty good idea as to what it's going to look like, the compelling offer that you guys are going to have is going to make your eyes water, and it's going to make your salesman want to, I'll go buy 5 Series BMWs. Let's keep going. Like now he's like, and guess what he's thinking? He's like, what the hell is the compelling offer? If his is that good, what's ours going to be, right? And now you're going to help them create that, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's good.
Like that, you see the way you used your own example in compelling offer, and they're like, holy smokes, yeah, I remember when I heard that, it was unbelievable. Gosh, if we had something like that, it would be mind-boggling. Let's do it. So there you go. What are your 3 stories? And make sure you spit them out during that call. And I think that your stories should be, again, how you think of the 20 to 30 being 50 instead of 10. That would be a perfect example of how you are different than the Facebook ad guy, and you're going to help them grow in a very methodical, profitable, et cetera way. So that's what I think.
Perfect.
Cool beans.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, man.
Well,
Pat, anything you'd say to add to that, by the way, or
good.
what do you think?
It's really good. Yeah, I think just get the
Cool.
stories, get your questions, and practice it. And we were talking with Adrian just about an hour ago, and he was reminding us again of the incredible practice it takes to become an expert or an excellent in something. And I gave the example of doing a 30-minute radio show in Japanese, and the hours and hours and hours and hours it took to memorize answers in a different language. I mean, but it's that kind of thing. Is like you just can't go in and think, oh, I'm just gonna watch a video and I'm gonna be an expert in lead generation or something. You've got to put it to practice, and you've got to work the process. And it's not something that happens in 10 minutes or an hour. It's repeated practice over a long period of time, and then you become an expert at it. So, and you actually don't even have to be an expert, because this world is so crazy, because knowledge is doubling every 9 months, and probably in the business building space it's like every 2 months. And so whatever we know now, the knowledge of this area of business building doubles 2 or 3 months from now. So we only can be a relative expert, and we've moved in the whole thing of just in case knowledge. You guys have heard this before, like, hey, you memorize who the kings of England are just in case, or whatever, the 8 wives of Henry VIII or whatever, just in case. And we're now just in time. And so you have to be able to access information. You have to have people and the right resources around you and the right joint ventures to help you pull things off and all that. But you're doing it, you just have to pull things up. You have to know how to access stuff. So it's impossible to know it all, but you still have to have a strong base. You still have to be able to talk a good talk. And when you walk in and you talk to people about direct response advertising versus institutional advertising, and got to be able to explain the conversion equation, you've got to have your elevator pitch, all those things, you've got to have great questions in place, got to have great stories. And you come in prepared like that. Like Carl said, you got 3 stories for anything, whatever they say, you got 3 great stories. You go in prepared like that, and you can tell those stories really well. It's a whole different experience. I remember, again, back to Japanese story a long time ago, but I was asked to speak at a Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club in Japan is, imagine 50 old staunch men sitting at you, just staring at you. And so I spoke in Japanese again, and my goal was make them laugh, make them cry, and make them dream about doing something better for the city. And the crazy thing was they're all laughing in the place they weren't supposed to be laughing, because my jokes were a little bit off. They're laughing at different things. But I made a bunch of them cry. I saw them wiping tears because I told great stories, and then I inspired them to do something, right? And so, but that's a lot of practice. You got to practice those things. And so I just say, you want to be a professional, go and practice your stories, practice your questions. You should have them memorized. I mean, write them on cue cards if you have to, post them in the bathroom if you have to, whatever, right? Memorize them in the car. You should be able to rattle these off. So everything on the area, everything on the side here, you see all these, we got to close here, Carl, I know we got to go.
Yep.
But like, if you go down everything on the side, you got compelling offer. Everything's got an introductory script. It's very short. Okay. I'd love to see someone take up this challenge to memorize it, or at least be able to say, if I say, hey, Joe, what's a drip campaign? And Joe comes back and he doesn't have to hesitate. He can say exactly, well, 80% of all sales occur between the 5th and 12th point of contact, blah, 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 and they go right through it. You should be able to open up any one of these and explain the difference between initial close rate, follow-up close rate, the difference between upsell, cross-sell, downsell. These should be at your fingertips. You should be an expert in all of these. And if you're not that, it's okay. You're in a process. But you know what? You could be a lot better this time next week than you are today. So my final encouragement is, don't watch Netflix tonight. Go and memorize 3 of these and put them on a cue card and memorize them till you get them, and have your spouse or your partner or one of your kids or your dog test you and make sure you can say it right. And then, next week do 3 more. And in a month or so, you're going to be in You're going to be it's be awesome what you can do. So anyway, that's my rant, my encouragement. Go for
I love it. Nope. Perfect, boss. Perfect, man. We love it. Kenya Pat.
it.
Giving it to us. All right, folks. Okay, so look, that's all we got. Like I said, we need to zip off anyways. So, Kenya Pat, we all appreciate you and your magic around here, buddy. And for
Thank you.
everybody here, of course, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you playing full out. And like Kenya Pat said, pitter patter, let's get at her. Just go and turn off Netflix, turn off the TV, turn off the podcasts, go practice, do instead of listen to others or experience others. Turn off the football game, most definitely. In fact, it's not football season, though. That might be baseball and maybe some hockey. So there we go. That's the advice. So we appreciate you guys, and we will see you. What day is it today? It's Tuesday. We'll see you on Thursday.